I get the question a lot, how do you manage to look at so much data so quickly and create all those charts? And the truth is there is many different ways of doing that. Therefore, I thought I'll do a little bit of a mini series and show a couple of processes that I'm following and a couple of tools that I'm using. And depending on everybody's preference, you can pick and choose what you want to do. So the reason why I like to look at large quantities of data is because there's one thing to talk to people and get anecdotal evidence about something. They tell you, oh, it's so hard to connect containers on Kubernetes, or it's so difficult to monitor large language models. But what you really want to know is about the broad masses of, for example, application developers and platform engineers and whatever other personas you may be interested in and what they are struggling with. And obviously, as an analyst, I always am interested in what people are struggling with. So in this case, and I'm going to test this app a little bit. So this is called Julius. It's Julius AI. Yeah, Julius AI is what it's called. And it uses Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And it's doing its own reasoning. It's been doing this for, I think, it's existed for over a year at least. What I can do is I basically, for example, I want to know what are developers struggling with when it comes to monitoring generative AI models. I'm assuming they're struggling with something in that regard. I just came up with that literally on the fly as is best practice when you're recording a video. Let's try it. And we'll ask it to look at Stack Overflow, because that's the #1 developer forum where developers are posting their questions. Find the last 100 developer questions related to GenAI on Stack Overflow and show them to me in a table categorized by topic. Okay, I'm not actually even going to tell it to use the API. So theoretically, it could go out and scrape it. It could use the SQL interface for Stack Overflow. Could use all kinds of things. But I just want to know the last 100 questions, and I want them categorized so that I get an idea of what we are dealing with. And of course, I could ask it for the last 1,000 questions or 10,000 questions. It would do that too. There's different ways of getting there, of course. If it's that many, I would use the SQL API, for example, for Stack Overflow. But you can see I'm not actually writing any code at all here. It seems to be going through the front end. It seems to be looking at the actual questions. And it says information is missing on the latest 100. I need to scrape Stack Overflow to get the latest. Okay. They're not specifically tagged. So that's interesting. Let me try a different approach by checking the AI-related tags that might include GenAI questions. So it cannot find enough questions that are tagged as GenAI, apparently. So they may be tagged as AI itself. So let's see what it comes up with. Because it can use Claude 3.7 to read all of those questions and then make its own judgment, whether it's GenAI or not GenAI. So that's at least what I'm hoping. You never know with these models. I can say it has a pretty high hit rate and it works pretty well. That's why I'm using it. Not for everything, but there's a lot of interesting use cases that you can do with it. So it's writing code and it's generating this code in the back end and it's waiting actually until it's showing it to you. It will just bounce up all the code in a second, or it will it actually? It actually will not. It got stuck. So that's interesting. So I'm going to tell it explicitly to use the API. Can you use the Stack Overflow API and check what kind of AI tags there are related to GenAI? Because I don't believe that there's no tags. I swear I've already seen GenAI tags. Now I told it specifically to use the API. So it needs to write Python code. So you can see up there, it's Python that it's using. It could also use R. But okay, look at that. It's giving me a list. It's still working on it, but I'm already previewing. So LangChain, Hugging Face, Stable Diffusion. Yeah. A lot of this vector databases, a lot of this stuff is GenAI. So it found tags. So here are the tags. Those are the GenAI related tags, and it did a good job finding them, actually. So what is it doing next? Oh, it's categorizing those questions already. And now, oh, it gave me a breakdown. So it says 36% about implementing and using frameworks like LangChain, Hugging Face, and general LLM implementation challenges. Then commercial AI services questions related to OpenAI and ChatGPT. General AI, so those are product questions, and then RAG. So I'm going to ask it to give me a summary of the key questions about RAG. Okay, all the RAG questions summarized in a brief paragraph. Should be able to do that, considering that it found the questions and it counted the questions. Is this actually going to add up to 100? 69, 89. Yeah, this is 100. So now it's working. And it's writing down the questions. So this is really for a sanity check. So it found under those 100 questions, there are only 2, 4, 6, 8 RAG questions, which is fine, because it shows us basically 8 out of 100 were RAG questions. So there is 8% RAG questions in here. I don't know why it says 11% in this case, isn't it? 2, 4, 6, I only see 8 questions. Okay. So the 8 RAG-related questions on Stack Overflow primarily focus on implementation challenges with vector databases, document processing, integration, blah, 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 and so on. So it gives us a nice write-up on what developers are actually struggling with. And if you are a vendor of a tool, of an LLM tool or a workflow tool, then it's important that you actually look at those questions and see what people in real life are struggling with, because those are issues: document processing and structuring, especially PDFs, vector database integration and troubleshooting. Those are things that are really a big waste of time for developers. So that tells us stuff. It tells us that we need to make vector database integration and troubleshooting easier. But let me ask it actually, what are those vector databases integrated with? Or does it say that up here? Effective reveal and handling vector stores. No, I don't. It's not saying it. Okay. What vector database integration issues did you find? Yeah, did you find? Let's just ask it that. You can fetch more questions from Stack Overflow API. Stack Overflow API if you need to. Okay. So let's have it clarify. Oh, and later we also want to clarify that disparity between the 11%. Oh, actually, it's probably because it's RAG and knowledge retrieval. So there may be 3 questions that it categorizes as just knowledge retrieval and not RAG. And that's why it only has 8. But we can clarify that later. So let's see what it's doing. Oh, look, so it's fetching questions with tags that are related to vector databases. That's great. And then it can tell us a lot more about the issue. So first of all, it's cool. Here we see the vector database issues broken down into the individual subcategories. This is extremely useful. Now, I don't know why it's writing so large now. Okay. It's still doing its thing and finding questions. I cannot read the code that quickly so that I exactly know what it's doing right now. But yeah, I can see it's using a key for querying the API again. Okay. Now it has a summary here for vector database integration issues. Based on the analysis, here are the key vector issues. Data format type errors, 12.3%. That's a huge pain in the neck. Unsupported vector type. Yeah. And then integration with LLMs. Challenge connecting vector databases to LangChain, OpenAI, LLM frameworks. Then query retrieval and database management itself. Are those, however, integration questions? Here are the key vector database integration questions. Struggle with formatting, type mismatches between the vector database. Okay, I guess you could say there are integration questions with Qtrend, with LangChain, with those tools here. Yeah, there are the different tools, and they are really all integration questions. So that's great. To wrap things up, I'm going to ask you to do me a bar chart on the different RAG question categories. So I basically want to see the frequency, but I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to see. It's a continuous experiment when you work with those tools. Just going to see if it derives that from the context. And usually it's very good at deriving what you have in mind from the context if you've worked with it for a while. But we will see in a second here. Okay, I'm sure it used matplotlib, so it uses this library. You don't have to worry about that. It's just a library that I use a lot when I write actually Python code. So here is my, wow, look at that. It broke it down. Oh, that is cool. I didn't even ask for that. Detailed breakdown of vector database integration issues. LangChain, OpenAI, integration with LLMs, integration with databases, data format and type errors, and query retrieval issues. Yeah, this is more than I actually asked for, which you sometimes get. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, I don't want to make this video any longer. So depending on the feedback I'm getting, I'm going to show you more tools and more use cases. Let me know what you think. And yeah, thanks for watching.